But first, with the details from his breaking news report is the Hill's John Solomon. All right, let's start at the beginning here, because we have talked a lot about these issues, but tonight's news is different because we have now discovered a long email chain. Is that the proper way to characterize it?
Yes, that's how it's been described to me. That's correct, Sean.
Okay,
and,
and
here's
whose names are on, just to get it set up, whose names are on this email chain?
Well, I'm told that James Comey is one of them, that there are people from the National Security Division of the Justice Department, and that there are key players that were the obvious people involved in the FBI, though I don't have their names, working at various points on the Russia investigation. So it's a large group of people trying to get ready to get this FISA warrant submitted to the court. And there are 2 or 3 very important revelations. One is that James Comey's involved in discussions. 2, there is mention in these emails that the intelligence community, possibly the NSA or another agency, had concerns about the quality of the intelligence in the Steele dossier. And 3, that there were pretty significant worries, concerns that Christopher Steele had already begun talking to the news media. This is before they file the FISA warrant, before they fire him. If all those things are true, if the FBI had not corroborated and there were concerns about the Steele dossier, if they knew that Steele had talked to Yahoo News and then Yahoo News is used as a corroborating piece of evidence for the dossier, these are serious issues. They would be misleading the court with this information by portraying it as something more solid than it is. And, you know, we learned all about this funny from really 2 appearances on Fox News over the holiday week. Devin Nunes showed up on Maria Bartiromo's show and your show, and he said, hey, I kind of amended my request for the declassification. No one followed up, and so we started asking questions, and we found out there's an email trail, and it may be some of the more damning and belated produced evidence that may suggest wrongdoing at the FBI.
Let's go through this slowly. So we have now evidence that you have uncovered, email chains from these people in the FBI, DOJ, that are at the top levels. Right. And what we now know is they knew that this was not verified, this dossier. They knew that they knew where it came from, that Hillary had paid for it. They never took the time to verify it themselves. And rather than do their due diligence, they went along and just decided that they wanted to get the FISA warrant, and they committed what is ultimately a conscious fraud on the court. Is that a fair characterization?
I think that's the question and the allegation that has to be further investigated. Until we see the actual language of this email, I don't want to pass judgment, but I can tell you people who have seen it or have been involved with that email say directly it's among the most damning evidence of wrongdoing by the FBI. If those people see it, and if Devin Nunes thought it was important enough to bother the president and ask him to declassify this among the other documents, I think we should assume it's a very important piece of evidence.
So how could anybody justify not telling the court key pieces of information? Before, you know, we have a quote of Rod Rosenstein. It was back in May when he said, when you're talking about a FISA, you know, you have a career law enforcement official, and they put their signatures there. That's the full faith and credibility that they're putting behind that warrant. Yeah. But they never verified it, and now we know that they even suspected themselves that none of it was true in many ways, but it never stopped them because their desire to get that warrant far exceeded a desire to do it use the proper process and processes and do due diligence, and they wanted it more than they wanted to follow the law, and they purposely kept information that is pertinent from the judges. That's fair, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I think that is now not in dispute anymore. Let's think about what we know, Sean, for sure. Indisputable. The core evidence for the FISA warrant, that's Andy McCabe's description. Without it, we would not have pursued the FISA warrant, came from a product paid for by Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party to try to destroy Donald Trump in the final months of the election. We know that the people who handled that evidence, prepared and tried to rush it through the FBI to the court, were 2 agents who on their own said they wanted to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. We know the person who created the dossier doesn't stand by it. He says he knew it was uncorroborated intelligence when he submitted it, and he himself despised Donald Trump. And despite all that, and now the NSA or some other intelligence community agency having concerns about the dossier, and the FBI knowing the journalists they were going to use as corroborating, all of that's now not disputed, and yet we think this is a good product. I think that's the question that we need to have answered. Why did this move forward with all these flaws?
These aren't just flaws. They knew it was fraudulent, and their desire to get Trump, I would argue, far exceeds it by other evidence. So now the question is, the president before the election talked about unredacting and releasing the FISA applications. That has not happened yet. Gang of Eight information. That has not happened yet. The 302s with Bruce Orr and Christopher Steele. That has not happened yet. And the president recently said, well, I might do it at the appropriate time if this is the fight that the Democrats in Congress want to have. But this is the fourth bucket, as we call it, that Devin Nunes was talking about, that everybody knew. Everybody knew that this was phony. Basically, they created and fabricated a lie at worst, a story to the court, and withheld exculpatory information that would have prevented any judge from ever granting a FISA warrant. Why won't the president release it?
So I think his lawyers and he have come up with a prudent concept. And my reporting indicates that he's still as committed as ever to releasing these documents. But listen, the first thing that will vindicate the president is if Robert Mueller finishes his investigation, the president's not charged with any crimes, right? He wants to get this over with. He's fearful, and his lawyers are fearful, that if he releases the documents before them, he'll be accused of tampering or trying to sway the investigation at the last minute. It's on a wind down. Let it wind down is what the president and his lawyers, I think, are thinking, according to my reporting. And then we can have this debate about how this thing originated and all the flaws that occurred and try to make sure it doesn't happen again to some other person in the future. I think that's the process he's following.
John Solomon, great reporting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This is huge. We'll have more on this later in the show. All right.